All right. Well, hello, Boss Fam. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very special guest on the red sofa today, here to talk with us with Real Talk Houston, and I'm Carlotta B, of course. We have today with us Toni Wallace, everybody, in the building.
Hi, everybody.
So Toni is a judge with Fort Bend County, Court number 4, and we are so pleased and elated to have her here with us today. Welcome, Toni.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It was an honor to be invited.
You look beautiful in your yellow.
Thank you. Thank
Awesome.
you. They told me jewel tones for the TV.
Yes.
So, yes.
You look gorgeous, honey. So I want you to just tell us a little bit about who is Toni Wallace. So talk to us a little bit about your high school, your college background, and who are you?
All right. So I am a wife. I'm a mother. I am a sister. I'm a judge. I'm a lot of things. I wear a lot of different hats.
Yes.
But I started off in Fort Bend County. I grew up there. I graduated from Dulles High School.
Okay.
Go Vikes. And then from there, went to University of Texas.
Okay.
Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.
We bleed orange in my house. That is actually where I met my husband.
Yes.
And so, grew up really quickly, actually, in college. It's one of those, you had a lot of fun, but you're also there to, figure out what you want to do next.
Right.
And for me, it was journalism. So I thought I was going to be the next Oprah.
Yeah.
Thought that was where my path was headed. But God had other plans for me. So I did actually start in TV news as a news producer.
Okay, great.
And then figured out that's not really what I wanted to do and decided to go to law school.
Okay.
Fell in love with the law.
Awesome.
And everything about it. And so I feel like my journalism background actually enhances what I do as a lawyer and what I do as a judge. Because when you're a journalist, you have to listen to people.
Right.
You have to know how to do research. You have to read.
Right.
So all of that was preparing me, although I didn't know at the time,
Yeah.
to ultimately do what I'm doing now.
Wow. Okay. So when you were in high school, what were your favorite courses? I mean, how did you even, know what you wanted to go to college for?
I didn't like science or math.
Okay.
I could do the work.
Okay.
But I did not enjoy it.
Okay.
Really, my passion lied in writing.
Okay.
And reading. I've loved to read since I was a little girl.
Excellent.
And so my dad actually sat me down one day and he was like, I think, you're going to be the doctor in the family and this is what I think you're going to do. And I was like, yeah, no, that's
not me.
Science, math is not my thing.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided to pursue journalism. I actually did some broadcasting when I was in high school for like basketball games and stuff like that, and really enjoyed it, and so that kind of sparked what I wanted to do.
So it was been in you for a while. What is up with? I know you said you went to UT.
Yes.
What is the deal with this OU-UT rivalry?
What? Because it is. I don't know what time it is right now, but on whatever day it is, OU still sucks.
They still suck.
That is how we live.
Yes.
It is just an old rivalry. It's just tradition. And you go to UT, and the Texas OU game is a huge game. Lots of revelry that goes along with it.
Right.
It's just one of those things we just enjoy, and you just feed into it. My daughter is actually going to UT, and she already knows that OU sucks. So we just get that established up front.
Okay. All right. So you're already priming her to.
That's good home training right there.
Has she expressed any interest at all in going to UT?
Oh, no, she's absolutely going.
So that's, okay.
No, it's not a question. She has wanted to go there since she was 13.
Awesome.
Yes.
So she knows.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. It's good to know at a young age exactly what you want to do. That's great. So in your family household growing up, what was your family dynamic when you were growing up?
Yeah, two-parent household. My parents raised us with a lot of expectations, but always giving us ways to accomplish them, right? So it's not like they were like, we want you to be great, but not giving us the tools in order to accomplish that. Lots of laughter, lots of love. It's just me, and I have an older sister.
Okay,
and so it was just the two of us.
Two girls.
Just the two of us.
Oh, I'm sure your dad had his hands full, right?
Yeah. We had a lot of, just a lot of good times. You know, my mom is a music teacher. She was an orchestra teacher, so I was raised in music. A lot of musical influences in my life. And then my parents just did a really good job of surrounding us with adults that were doing things that were positive.
Exactly. So you had good role models to look at. That is absolutely wonderful. So you said your mom was a music teacher. Is she fluent in any instruments?
Yes. She plays the piano and the violin.
Ah, amazing. I play the piano as well. So that is wonderful. And violin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Don't ask me what instruments I play because it's a disappointing answer.
So. Or you're not musically inclined?
No, ma'am.
You didn't get that one trait from your mom?
No, I did not.
But that's okay. You have a lot of other ones that are absolutely amazing, so you're perfectly fine. So who inspired you, like, as a child? Was it an actor? Was it a musician? Was it someone in your family? A teacher at your school?
Yeah. You know,
inspiration.
I really wouldn't pinpoint any one person. That's why I kind of referenced them. My parents did a really good job of surrounding us with different kinds of people that were doing different things.
Yes.
I can remember just being in high school. Sorry, I'm gonna put that right there. Being in high school, and there were teachers. You know, I had Sybelle Alexander, Marcia Sachs. I can remember their names because they were the kind of women that just nurtured and encouraged you. And then, you know, my aunt was a really good influence in my life. She was a very independent woman. And she really taught us, you know, you need to have your own bank account. You need to have your own savings account. You need to know how to invest your money. So it was those kind of influences. My dad, like I said, just had a standard of excellence. I can remember bringing home grades, and if it was a bad grade, he wouldn't chastise me for the bad grade. His response would always be, well, was this the best you could do? If this was your absolute best, then that's fine. If not, then do better. So when you are raised in that, you know, you challenge yourself to rise to that, and it was never a berating, like, you know, shame on you for doing this. It was always just, if that's your best, then that's what we'll accept. But if it's not,
positive criticism, even if it's a little bit underlying criticism, it was positive, right? That's good. Wow, that's amazing. I think it makes a difference. When children are raised in a household where both parents are there, positive influences, positive criticism, and support, all the way around support, being surrounded by good people. With good vibes, that is very important.
And my parents always encouraged us to have a good time. You know, I mean, they weren't too strict where I couldn't do anything. But they also weren't so liberal that I could just be out there. You know? I had a good balance, you know, and we just my childhood and the household that I grew up in was just one of just encouragement and nurturing.
That's great. I can relate to that. And as far as my parents, I was lucky to get out of the house at all. If it wasn't for sports, I was basketball. I played for years. Track. I was a sprinter for years. If it wasn't for those sports, I don't even know if I would have been able to get out of the house.
Well, that was your segue.
They were very strict.
Yeah, that was your segue into
and
the
I appreciate
outside.
it. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it wholeheartedly. And I tell my parents every day, thank you so much for being strict, because you know, I see a lot of people that were not raised up under those conditions, and they had the, you know, coming home when they want, going where they want, friends over, spending the night everywhere. And sadly to say, it's a little bit of a different outcome.
I mean, the lack of structure
appreciate that.
is actually a good thing for kids. And, you know, even as a mother, there's a lot of things that my kids are like, oh, why you got to do it like that? I'm like, it's okay.
It'll make
you
sense
don't
later.
You don't have to understand it or like it, but that's how it's going to happen.
That's the way it is right now. Deal with it, right? Career, after you left UT, what careers did you have prior to becoming a judge? What careers did you have?
So, like I said, I thought I was headed for Oprah. You know, I was coming to challenge her for the throne, in talk shows. So right out of school, I was a news producer in Tyler, Texas, NBC 56. I will never forget.
Yes.
And so I did that for a year. And in the TV business, you have to move around from market to market in order to advance. And I decided that's not what I wanted to do, and I decided to go to law school. So there really wasn't, it was probably about a year or two that I had a little, something else that I did before I went into law school and decided to become a trial lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. You kind of knew exactly what you wanted to do, so you went there and you did that pretty quickly. Most people flail around for years and trying to find themselves.
Yeah, I knew what I liked. And so
it makes a difference.
Yeah, and so I kind of had that, okay, this is what I like to do, this is what I'm good at, so where can I fit into, where can I fit that in? And I was led into journalism, which then led me into the law.
That's wonderful. So your transition from being a lawyer into being a judge.
Ooh, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that transition and how that came about.
The word I like to use is serendipity. I had been practicing law for probably about 13 years.
Okay.
And by the time I was at the latter part of that 13 years, I spent 5 years in the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office.
Okay.
Loved being a prosecutor.
Wonderful.
It was by far the most fun I had practicing law. Lots of trials as a prosecutor. You get a lot of power and control, and you go to trial a lot. That's what I love to do. And had been doing that for about 5 years, and I got a phone call one day, and they said, hey, they're going to open a new court in Fort Bend County, and your name is on the short list to be considered for the judge. Are you interested? And I said, well, I mean, I hadn't really thought about it, but now that you mentioned it, and I had been vetted by the county commissioners, and I had been practicing in front of all of these other judges in Fort Bend County, and they all said, yeah, her temperament is great. She's smart. She comes to court. She's prepared. She's gone to trial. She's done well. And so again, that is God kind of preparing me, even though I didn't know it at the time.
Of you and preparing the path.
So I was appointed by unanimous decision by the county commissioners in Fort Bend County, and was the first African-American female judge ever appointed in Fort Bend County.
Yes.
And that happened in 2016.
Yes, that is so wonderful.
It was phenomenal. It was so funny because the morning that I got sworn in, County Commissioner Grady Prestige was there, and he's one of the African-American county commissioners. Okay. And he said, this is a big deal, right? And the morning of it, and I was like, this is like, this is my swearing in. It's a
and that's
it's a
what
big
you
deal.
Thought he meant.
He was like, no, you're the first. And in that moment, the weight of being the first really settled on my shoulders.
Yes.
But it was by far the greatest job I ever had.
Yes.
I enjoyed every minute, and it was a finite position. Right, because they only needed me to sit on that bench for a year. Okay. And then they were going to have the election in November. They were going to elect a new judge, and I promised that I wouldn't run for that seat. If they appointed me, I had to promise that I wouldn't run.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and so so I did that and discovered that being a judge is the best of all worlds. Yeah. It encompasses everything that I loved about being a lawyer and being able to help people, but I get an expanded palette in order to do that. And so gave up that seat, obviously. November 2016 rolled around, they voted a new judge in, and I left in December. Okay. But that was just enough to wet my whistle, just enough to get me interested, and I decided in 2017, I'm going to run for a bench. In 2018, and that's what I did.
You very well should have taken that path.
That's what I did.
That is amazing. So I know your family is so proud of you.
Yes.
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 Ah, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
I do have to ask before we leave your position as prosecutor.
Yes.
How did you feel? Did you have any cases where you didn't know how to approach them because the type of case that it was, or should I say, what was your worst case? What type of case was your worst case as a prosecutor?
I think worst in terms of really kind of wringing my hands in that I know what the law says, but I also know what my heart says.
Yeah, exactly that.
I spent 2 years as a juvenile prosecutor. In the juvenile division in the DA's office.
Okay.
And those are probably some of the hardest cases that I had to deal with.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with kids.
Exactly.
And you're dealing with a system that is set up so that they can be rehabilitated.
Right.
So that they can make better choices.
Right.
But when you run into the ones that they just never had a chance.
Yes.
Either because of their household, their environment, or they just had conditioned themselves to continue to make those bad choices.
Right.
As a prosecutor, those were some of the hardest ones because
I can imagine.
you know and you can give them the help, but if they're not willing to take it.
They're not receptive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So those
and
were difficult.
now, as a judge in court number 4, what type of cases do you have coming across your desk?
Oh, wow. So on any given day, we are, in Fort Bend County, we are general jurisdiction courts. And so what that means is I have 5 main areas that I cover. I do adult criminal, so I do misdemeanor. So up to Class A, Class B, Class C misdemeanors.
Okay.
I can't send anybody to prison. I can send them to jail for a year. That's the most I could do. I'm good with that.
Okay.
I'm good with that. Then I do juvenile cases. So in my juvenile cases, that's felony and misdemeanor. So I'm certifying kids to be tried as adults. I am deciding whether or not they are going to go to TJJD. I am deciding whether or not we're going to remove them from their home and put them in a placement facility for
you're making
a number
that
of
decision.
months.
So are there juries in there? Is there a jury involved in your court at all? Or?
Yes. On my civil cases, so those were 2. So for my criminal cases and my civil cases, I can have a jury.
But
I also cover probate cases, which is trusts, guardianships. I do civil, which is contract cases or civil disputes, up to $250,000 in damages. A lot of the stuff that we go to trial on are the condemnation cases. So public eminent domain. When they're trying to take somebody's land.
Right.
We do a lot of those.
Regarding real estate and the county.
And then I also do mental health commitment cases.
Ooh.
So if you have a family member or someone who needs to be committed because they have mental health issues, or you have to force them to take medication, I have those hearings as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot that my court covers, like I said, any given day I could have any docket on anything.
Right.
But it keeps me on my toes, and I really enjoy it because I get to dabble in a lot of different areas of the law.
Okay.
But the area that's near and dear to my heart in my court is my girls' court. So Court 4 in Fort Bend County, we house the girls' court, which are girls that are juveniles, 10 to 17.
Okay.
They're already on probation, and they have been identified as either at risk for or they have been victims of human trafficking. So we pull those girls out. We have special counseling for them. We have special programs for them. We customize their supervision so that we can really try to make sure that they do not fall back into those patterns that got them in trouble.
Those numbers are rising, right? Human trafficking. What is going on with that?
So what I like to tell people is the numbers have always been there. It's just the awareness that's different. It is training law enforcement, flight attendants, convenience store owners, teachers to see it, because it's always been there. And these girls have always been trafficked and victims of trafficking, but we have not been trained to see it. So now that you can identify it better and you can see, for law enforcement, if you, pick up, if you pull somebody over for a traffic stop and there's a young girl in the back seat and that's clearly not her father, then you need to ask some additional questions. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you, as a convenience store owner, if you see a young lady coming in with a gentleman and their dynamic of their relationship is off,
afraid or
exactly.
scared. So
ask questions.
At what point does common sense come into play, though? Why does the eye have to be trained to see something that's not right?
Because it's one of those crimes that it can go undetected, because it can look like something else. It can be kind of a chameleon. I have to tell parents, my friends that have children in the age range 13 to 17, watch who your kids hang out with.
Definitely.
If their friends change, ask questions.
Right.
Because that could be something that's going on. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that the predators that are perpetuating the trafficking, they don't look like the creepy perv guy with the mustache.
Yeah, they don't look suspect.
No. It's that 16-year-old girl who sits next to your daughter at the volleyball game and hears your daughter complaining about, oh, my parents
her
are
home life.
Yes, and so she sidles up next to her and says, hey, you know what? I got something you can do. You can make some money on the side, and you'll be home at night. You'll be home, your parents will never know.
Yeah.
But come, I'm going to introduce you to some people. And that's how it
starts.
That's how it starts. Girls that are being trafficked, they don't look any certain way, but once you are trained to see it and ask those questions, you can find out a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
wow,
we do a lot of work, but there's a lot of work still to be done.
I know that's one of the things that I lose sleep over, and I know a lot of my friends have girls. and I have boys, and I'm thankful to God for that, but it's still it bothered me just knowing what all is going on in the world. It was something on the news today about an Uber driver that raped a 15 or 16-year-old girl.
It's out there.
It's
happening every day.
It's so
but I have had girls who have come through my program. And we place certain conditions on them. You can't talk to this person. You can't be on social media. Like we eliminate social media from them completely. All of that. And so when they violate those conditions, I bring them in. And I asked the young lady who had contacted her pimp.
Right.
After we had told her clearly she could not.
Right.
And I asked her, I said, why did you do that? You knew what was at risk. You knew what was at stake. Because we put her in detention for it.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I wanted to check on him to see if he was okay.
Oh, wow.
They're brainwashed. They are conditioned to think he cares for me.
Right.
And so when I get out, regardless of what my consequence is going to be, I want to reach out to him.
I have to check on him.
So there's a lot of layers to it, and we try to help these girls really start to understand, why they're doing what they're doing, give them alternatives, and just show them there's so much more that you are capable of. Your potential goes so far beyond just doing what you're doing in the streets.
Right. Okay. So there's programs for them. Is there? I mean, I know there are programs, but what you guys are doing with your girls' court, once you guys rescue them from their situation, is there something that they can go to help them maybe prepare for a job?
Oh, absolutely.
Schooling, interviews, computer classes, interview skills.
We have all of those resources available for them. So we have 3 components to the girls' court. There's supervision, there's special programs, and there's counseling.
Okay.
And so in that special programs component is where we give them all the tools. If they are behind in school because they've been gone because they ran away and they've been gone for months, we have programs that will help get them caught up. And even in that, if they opt because they say, I want to get my high school diploma, we'll help them do that. If they say, you know what, I'm so far behind, let me just get my GED. We have GED classes for them. So we meet them where they are and put them in the resource and programs that they need in order to accomplish what they want to do. If it's jobs, we give them job skills. We help them do interviews.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. So do you think everyone is equal in the eyes of the law?
Ooh.
How do you feel about that?
When you say eyes of the law, that could be any different number of entities, right? So maybe it's law enforcement, maybe it's the judiciary, but what I do believe exists is implicit bias. And that's something that we don't talk about a lot. It is kind of a buzzword. But what it basically means is that you bring to whatever role you're in, if I'm a judge, if I'm a police officer, if I'm a probation officer, I bring my life's experiences into that position. That can be a good thing because it can help me to be compassionate. It can help me to be trusting, to guide people. But it can also be a bad thing because that implicit bias, the things that I assume about somebody, may be a negative thing. And so, again, it's a training thing where you have to recognize what your bias is and where it comes from. And then you have to be intentional about not using that bias to make a decision.
Exactly.
So teaching judges how to do that, teaching law enforcement officers how to do that, probation officers how to do that, it requires training.
It does.
So when you say, when ideally everybody is equal in the eyes of the law, but depends on where that eye is and who's looking through it, right?
Exactly. It would be nice for that training to actually take place and be implemented because we desperately need that.
We do.
Because change needs to happen.
We do. And part of the problem is people recognizing that they have it. You know, I can't tell you how many judges I've talked to, they say, well, I'm not biased. I'm a judge, you know, I treat everybody the same. I do it through, you know, based on what the law says. And I always challenge it that may be true. And your record as a judge may be impeccable in terms of you following the law. But what are you thinking?
What is your thought? Right.
What's
your mentality?
When that person walks into your courtroom, what's your first thought? What's your initial thought? Good or bad? What is it? That's your bias.
Exactly.
And you view that person through that lens, whether you acknowledge it or not.
And if you're in denial, you can't be true to yourself or to the people that's coming through your court.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So definitely change needs to come there.
I agree.
So as mothers and wives and, you know, us being and all the women out there having so many plates that they're juggling, wearing so many hats. If, and this is just a fun question, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? What would it be?
You know what, I'm going to be honest, the first thing that popped in my head, if I had any superpower, it would be the ability to make any amount of sleep enough. Because I can't tell you, I can't tell you how many times I wake up tired.
Yes.
And I just woke up.
Yes. So, I can so relate.
I know that kind of sounds like
thing. And a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, but you got 5 or 6 hours. How can you be tired?
I need more.
You know, we need more than that. When your brain is working every day, all day from 8 a.m., in some cases 7 a.m., all the way to 10 o'clock at night, you know, you're exhausted mentally, physically, spiritually, you're tired.
And I can't tell you how much of an impact it makes when you are rested. You make better decisions when you are rested.
It is such a big difference.
And you can run on fumes, but the impact of that is that you're not doing as well. You're operating at a deficiency, you know? So.
What's the one thing you wish you could say out loud in court, but you just can't?
Ooh, why do you say that? So many times I want to just be like, what made you think that was a good idea?
Oh my goodness.
No. And you know, we are on Zoom now. We do a lot of Zoom. I've been doing a lot of Zoom since last year. And I will tell you, these people show up on Zoom in pajamas. In the little tank top. These are lawyers.
I was going to say,
in tank tops, in whatever, and I'm like,
oh my goodness,
sir, ma'am, we're still in a court proceeding. This is a court proceeding. You may be at your house.
Oh my goodness.
But we are in court, and I have to remind them.
That should be established as a rule or a requirement. Zoom rules and requirements. Come on, you can't. You know, I don't think in any job you have is it acceptable to get on a Zoom meeting with and you're just looking, you know, not presentable at all.
I had a guy ask me this morning, actually, on one of my Zooms. He was like, Judge, I didn't know what your rule was, you know, whether I needed to wear a suit or a shirt and tie. And I told him, you know, this is a court proceeding, so, you know, my rule is that you look like you would be in court. And he had on a suit jacket and a shirt and a tie. I said, now, from here up, that's my expectation. From here down, I don't care what you got on. That's none of my business. That's none of my business. I
expect you to look decent from the waist
here up. Whatever's in the frame is what I need. Everything else, you on your own. That's your business. I don't need to know all that.
Long-term goals. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Based on what you're doing now and the experience that you have, what do you want to be doing in 5 to 10 years?
You know, whatever God has for me is for me.
Yes.
I was
absolutely correct.
It's so funny because, you know, the story that I tell about about becoming the appointed judge, I knew it was only going to be for a year. And so many people asked me, well, what are you going to do after that? And it's only for a year. What are you going to do after that? And my response every time was like, I don't know. I wasn't expecting this. So whatever God has given me, He is giving it to me for a reason. He knows what I'm going to do next, and I'm good with that. I don't need to know. So, but so that's that's one answer. But truthfully, I am up for re-election in 2022.
Right.
And I have so much more to do on the bench.
Yes.
So at least for the next 4 years. I want to continue to be the judge in County Court at Law Number 4. Yes. If not just for my girls in girls court, but for everybody in that county that I feel like I still have a few more things that I need to accomplish on there.
Yes, you do. And we will definitely, we're going to be on the campaign trail in 2022. We're going to re-elect Toni Wallace.
It's coming up.
Yes, because we need someone that can help make the change and someone that's passionate about making the change, and we love what you're doing so far. We're so proud of you.
Thank you.
So proud of you.
Thank you.
Do you have any last comments or advice, anything you want to say to the audience, anyone out there that's listening and watching, anything you would like to say?
Yeah, I would just want to remind people, stay involved. And when I'm on the campaign trail last time, I ran into a lot of people who said, well, I don't get involved in politics. I don't get involved in government. Well, you don't really have a choice because government is involved in your life.
Correct.
And I think people focus on the bigger races, well, running for president. I don't know, I'm not voting for president. Or even in a midterm election, for the governor. But those elections aren't the ones that really matter. I'm not saying that because I'm in one of them. But, it's when you're voting for your commissioners, they're the ones that decide what goes on in your streets.
In your space.
In your community.
Exactly.
When you're voting for your school board. If your child is being mistreated at school, guess what? You have the power to decide who's going to be on that school board.
Right.
So, and when you're talking about city councilmen, people are like, in some city council races, that's just messy. Those people just messy. Well, but if you're electing the people that reflect your values, then it won't be messy.
Correct.
That's
right.
So pay attention to those local elections and really do your research. When it comes time for those elections, don't just go in there and vote for the black girl. Right. She may not be in your best interest.
That's right.
I'm just saying, do your research, be an involved and educated voter, and you will be amazed at how when you put people into office that are going to work for you, you will be amazed at how much gets done because they are motivated.
That's right.
So that's what I would do people with.
That's absolutely wonderful. And I totally agree with Toni. So it's our time, you guys. Again, thank you so very much for joining us on Real Talk Houston with Carlotta B. Go follow us at Real Talk Houston. And if you have a compelling story, you have a business that you want to showcase, please send us a DM and we'll get back with you as soon as we can. Love you guys so much, and we'll see you next time. Toni Wallace. Thank you so much.